Yeah, yeah. Yeah, or generally just scrolling through the UTF-8 space. Yeah, cool. I've definitely been there a bunch of times. Yesterday, I spent way too long looking for an appropriate welcome GIF for a new Elastic deployment, like a not gift but GIF, like an animated GIF.
Yes.
For someone who just joined the Japan team. So cool. So how's things? I got the recording going.
Morning. So did you see the notes in the API channel from Doctor Who?
Yep. Yeah, I wanted to ask about that today, but it looks like Rob can't join, and I don't know who else to ask, honestly. But like the question on my mind is like, we should probably have them sending to ingest, and then we need to figure out what they should use as a device URN. And this is like the first time that we've had someone non-Safecast even need a device URN. So like it raises this question of like, should we just let them pick something, or is there like?
It's not the first time, but it's the most. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while. Well, and it's like for like we've had device IDs before, but like I don't know of a time, and maybe there was and I just missed it, but you know, I don't think we've really talked about it at like the URN stage necessarily.
No,
so
but we did have really early on. There was the concept that people should be able to type in whatever data they had manually if necessary. And in fact, there was our very first volunteer up in Koriyama. You know, he had a handheld Geiger counter and used to enter his readings every morning for like 2.5 years. So there's like, almost 1,000 entries that were done by hand that weren't from a BGeigie. So, and they're in the database somewhere, but they got lost in the, the 150 million automated entries.
Yeah, even 10 years of daily data is still a drop in the bucket compared to the rest of the continually.
Well, but they were important because, and actually that set, because he was using an inspector, was actually comparable. So the CPM was the same as it would be for a BGeigie. There were also devices that were early on that had various tubes, surplus Russian tubes and smaller tubes, that made us have to think about how we were going to input a conversion factor so that we could get those on the map and still have them read, in some standardized units. And that just never came about because, the overwhelming mass of the BGeigie data and the other pancake-based data that just made that such a small thing that it never got enough priority to get resolved.
Yeah, and if anyone ever needed to figure out the conversion factor to dig into something deeper, they probably could have. So,
well, I thought the conversion factor by region was more important, and that's never been implemented either. There should be a way to designate a conversion factor based on at least a geographic region, if not of some size. Because the assumption that we're converting dose rates on cesium-137 applies for the areas in the vicinity of Fukushima and Chernobyl, but not for places like Hong Kong or Rome, or places where the background radiation is higher than typical, but the conversion factor is not really correct, or maybe not even appropriate.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, because ultimately we're just measuring counts per minute, and that could just as easily be coming from natural deposits of whatever rather than cesium.
Well, the difficulty, one of the difficulties in it is that we don't know what the conversion factor should be, because it's a broad spectrum, gamma rays, and nobody wants to commit to it. And the one we use for cesium is the same thing that most handheld Geiger counters do. So at least it matches what you'd read if you had a generic device or one of our BGeigies at that location. It's just that the conversion to microsieverts is very thumbnail at arm's distance.
Yeah. Well, anyway, conversion factors somewhat aside, I think we can at least accept the data from Doctor Who's device, so long as it has a unique URN prefix, because then they can do whatever they want with it. I guess it seems okay to me that so long as it's not a conflicting string prefix to something that we already have out there, which I did a quick like scan through, and it looks like it's funny, like there's not an authoritative list. I was even looking in ttserv's code, and it's sort of like, I'm pretty sure what happens with the error notes is like ttserv doesn't assign the URN whatever's upstream. I guess it's like the note. I guess it's NoteHub probably. I get the impression NoteHub probably assigns the URN, and so ttserv is just like a no-op because Note already has the URN assigned. So there's code in ttserv that attempts to assign a URN to devices that aren't able to send their own URN. If a device can send its own URN, then it looks like it's just a straight pass-through. So at the end of the day, what that means is we have no like fixed list of like, here's all of our URN prefixes. But in scanning through this list, maybe I could devise like a database query or something that gets us there. But it's, what is it? It's Safecast. There's a couple that I came up with here. Is it this one?
Do you have an example of one so I can get an idea, because I don't remember calling them that?
Yeah, so Safecast, Pointcast, GeigeCast, and Note appear to be all the prefixes. And so basically what we're talking about is the URN, which is all the data in the ingest system is keyed off of the URN. And so like here's an example, Safecast : 37. I guess this one's not reporting, but
and is this a string?
Yep. Yeah.
So it can be any character.
It's well, it's expected to follow a URN format. That's the URN.
And where is this format defined or described?
I think it's probably
okay,
like an ISO, but I don't know for sure.
Case sensitive, right? Okay.
Yeah. So it's expected to follow this format. In practice, like everything that we use is basically just like some sort of string prefix : and then a number.
Well, then we should probably have our own restricting policy that we should only use URNs of a certain limited style that's makes more sense for us, like having the name of the kind of device on it with and then a number and
URN scheme. But anyway, yeah. So the idea ultimately it's a string, but the important part is that it follows this sort of pattern. So it's like a : delimited.
And did you do a search, and the ones you showed me, those are the only ones that were existed in a database, or that was just
probably like I'd have to come up with a way. So like Elasticsearch doesn't make it super easy to like split the URN and like give me all of the unique prefixes. And then the notecasts are also the notes are like a little odd because they have like a double, like they have note dev and then also note. What's the other one? It's like IM. They also have note IMIE, which I don't, or EI, which I don't know what that stands for. So
if there were some that were, say, 6 or 8 years old that we've forgotten about, they wouldn't come. You wouldn't be able to find them.
Not super easily. I mean, like I said, I could probably construct a query that gives us like the unique list of all the prefixes, but I think we could also.
There's no not operator.
I guess
give us all and then exclude this following list.
Yeah. I could do the opposite. See if yeah, we could do that. That would work. That'll take a couple seconds to load there. So yeah, we could do that to get a list. I'm pretty sure this is it. But
because I'd be very surprised if there aren't some mistakes or whatever in there that were just somebody mistyped something or something, got mangled in transit somewhere, and somebody did it by hand, and we wound up with Savecast instead of Safecast. Who knows?
GeigeCast is in here too.
As it whittles down, you just keep erasing them, right?
Yeah, I suspect Robin.
Not those. Not those. Yeah.
Let's give it a second to do its thing here. I suspect Rob and Ray have mostly just been coming up with strings as they go. Like the fact that we have just GeigeCast and Pointcast, right? Like it's and note. And that's it in the last 7 days. Let's check the last. 3 years. This will take a little longer, but probably still short enough that it'll run. Oh, interesting. There's also an IMEA. I wonder if that's like an early IMEI.
MEI?
IMEI. I don't know what that's.
Yeah. This is really data spelunking, isn't it?
Yeah, that's sort of the name of the game when it comes to SafePath stuff. It's sort of like, especially with ingest for the most part, people have just been sending kind of whatever, and then we figure it out after the fact. I mean, that's half the reason it exists is because we needed something. Ooh, ICC ID. I don't know what that is.
I don't know.
Haven't seen anything in a long time, it looks like.
How, yeah, and how 60,000 though.
STM32. Oh, this keeps getting more and more interesting.
Right? It's like, okay.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. And I think what I should be able to do is in Postgres, I think I can do enough string manipulation that I can ask Postgres to give me like a unique set of all the prefixes. This is sort of the.
And this is only going back 3 years, right?
Yeah, well, I think like I mean, let me do 5. I mean, ingest itself has only been around for a little over 3 years, I think. So.
Well, then there's no reason not to go back to the, date 0.
Looks, I don't know, because if I do end not, yeah, because the way to ask for it, whether or not it's defined, I don't know if there's a way to ask for not blank.
Blank.
I think I can do device URN star and I think that should. Cool. There we go. Let me just double check that I didn't screw something up in the query, and we can still see some of those other ones that are hanging around.
Yes, they come up, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Cool. So that looks like everything.
And we found some we didn't expect.
Yeah, we sure did.
Grafana makes me think of a personal project from, I don't know, 2-3 decades ago when CDs were the main method of storing music. And I created my own database and started typing in all of the titles and tracks and things so that I'd be able to, put them online or on a local server, a local computer. And we got about 3/4 the way through our catalog. It took about, many months of this hand data entry. And then CDDB came out. So I kind of, now I'm kind of loath to do anything that's really is manual, because now like Grafana has come out, and we no longer have to design a sort of display mechanism for our stuff. We just use the tools that become available.
Yep.
That's why I don't sort through a lot of my old photos and files and stuff on my disks. I assume there's going to be an app for it in another year or two that'll just do a better job than I could have anyway.
I'm noticing, like, I use Google Photos and it's already getting there. Like Google Photos would be like, hey, we noticed there's a bunch of screenshots you probably don't need. Do you want to delete those? I'm like, yep, thanks.
Yep.
Or like,
although I've been having
going to be rotated wrong. Do you want to fix them?
Odd problems with Google Photo search though.
Yeah, the search
it confuses my 2 sons.
Mm-hmm. Does it get them confused?
I think, yeah, and I mean, I don't mind that it lists all the photos of my front yard as under the heading parks, but
that's a compliment.
Again, it knows I live in Japan, and if you have a yard, you must live in a park.
Well, anyway, cool. So, yeah, thanks for the idea. Now we have something resembling an exhaustive list.
Yep.
Given a half an hour and a Postgres console, I could probably figure out a nice query that would give you exactly the prefix, unique prefix list. But in the meantime, this works. And yeah, trying to do it, I'd have to hand assemble a query in Elasticsearch as well. So I like this this approach. Cool. So yeah, I guess so far they seem really random, right? Like STM32, PointCast, even GeigerCast, like.
And these all sound vaguely familiar to me, so I must have been aware of them at some point.
I suspect they're all Safecast for the most part. And like now it's a question of, do we just let Doctor Who pick their own string? Do we give them a string? You know, we don't really have any process around. I see Rob putting some STM32 OLED. I wonder if Rob invented this device on its own. Yeah, because it looks like it probably refers to a display device. Yeah, Raspberry Pi Arduino STM32. Yeah, I bet this is Rob just inventing a prefix for himself. So anyway, so yeah, we could ask a bit more and find out if there's like a project name it should be associated with, and use that. We could recommend that that they use like a domain name, perhaps. Like that was one thing I was curious. Like we just went with Safecast, but should it maybe be, you know, org.safecast, in the assumption that you would only use a prefix for like a domain that you own. And so if someone was, you know, you at that point you could do like a who is lookup on the domain and try to figure out who's right for a given prefix. But I don't know. We don't have any process around this right now. So that's the question, is kind of what should the process be? Cool. Doctor Who, if you're watching, let us know your thoughts.
Okay.
Anyway. So yeah, there's that. I would rather just have it go to ingest rather than try to jam it into API. The API data model is basically not flexible at all. So whereas ingest will take just about anything, and then we, you know, graph whatever comes in for the most part. And then Nick can decide if he wants to try to display some of it on a map or whatever. I want to move this one forward, which is Robin's thing about the new device story page, which actually, if Doctor Who's devices start publishing to, actually this one thing to keep in mind, this only looks at what goes via TTServe. So this might be a reason to have his stuff also go through TTServe. I don't know. We could also look at doing this the other way around, where instead of like asking TTServe, we just actually look at the Elasticsearch database and assemble a list based on that. But either way, I'd like to get this page deployed, so I'll hopefully work on that next at some point. I did work a little bit on the new reporting dev service. The one thing that I did when I updated the PR, I noticed like, and Rob's not here, but maybe Rob, when you watch it, can let me know. But Rob seems to like to use these like pre-release builds of Grafana, which I noticed they don't ship Docker containers for. So which means my whole new like Docker-based setup, either I'm gonna have to replicate this and we build our own Grafana container, which we could do, rather than using the one that Grafana, like the project themselves ship. Or maybe we just don't need to do this. I don't know. Anyway, so Rob, when you're watching this, you can let me know. So I have the pull request open if you want to take a look. But it's a pretty different setup, and I noticed Rob seems to be pretty comfortable poking in and like revving the Grafana version. So like maybe we don't want to do this. I mean, it's interesting, but I don't know for sure if it's like what Rob wants as far as the management of the reporting server goes or not. So yeah, let me ping Rob here. So we could also abandon it for reporting, to say like leave reporting more or less as is, and at least we have, you know, material that we can use to do a Docker conversion on API and ingest and stuff like that if we want to do that later. So
okay, well, got any other? What else? I'm looking. This is pretty small type for me.
Yeah, I could bump it up, but
nothing else really new.
No, nothing super new. Oh well, I guess come to think of it now, there's a little bit of new stuff where Doctor Who also called out this one. Which is if you load the measurements new page, it's sort of like a crapshoot as to whether or not it'll actually load. If you're logged in as a pretty old user, there's a pretty good chance it'll load. If it's a really new user, you probably won't load. The reason for that, it ends up doing a scan of the measurements table. I think it's an attempt to publish, like, I think it's what it's trying to do is like pre-populate the form with your most recent measurement. Right. Which, depending on where your user sits in the measurements index, like not even the table, but just the index on the table, is quite large. And so depending on where your user is on that index, it may or may not load in a timely fashion. Looks like I got lucky on this one. But I basically, as a test, I made like a new user for myself and tried, and sure enough, it bombs out. And then I looked at the queries that are in flight, and this is the one that stuck out. So someone's going to have to dig into Rails code and either just disable that feature entirely. That's probably the simplest thing to do, is basically just don't, because you notice it's like it loads this 31. I'm pretty sure what it's doing is it's looking for my most recent measurement, and then populating the latitude. Like it's trying to pre-populate filters. I would say the simplest thing is probably let's just not pre-populate. If we wanted to get creative with it, we could set up a table that's like the cached value of the most recent location measurement for each user. But that's going to be pretty big. And like if we pre-compute that for every single user in the system, you know, I don't know for sure if we want to do all that work, because there's probably not that many people that actually come into this page. I could pull up, does this have APN access? Let's forget it. This has APN access, probably not. No, awesome.
Okay.
I learned this the hard too many times, that if your password manager is on a recorded screen, it's not a good thing. You end up showing off a lot of passwords for recordings, and then I have to sanitize them out later. But like, I don't think measurements new gets used very much at all. I think it was more Doctor Who was just thinking that he could use it, or they could use it for submitting their measurements. Okay, the anonymous proxy does not have APN access. I was going to load this up, or attempt to load this up. It might take a little while, because we could see the throughput on that new page.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not at all up to speed on what Kibana and Grafana both, can do beyond what, sort of the pre-digested scripts that people have done for us, like that Rob and you and have made.
Yeah. Anyway, we can see here that like it really doesn't. It gets extremely. It's like basically the averages all come out to zero when you look at it over a 30-day span. So this page gets like almost no use. So probably actually let me just screenshot that.
Well, if it's broken.
Yeah, and we've only had one person playing.
Yeah. Like I said, if it's broken, people kind of might try it and go, well, okay, and then nobody comes back.
Yep.
That should be pretty easy to do.
Yeah, it's probably just a matter of commenting on the line.
Yep.
I'll mark that as a help wanted task, so that maybe someone coming into the project relatively cold can help out with that one. Oh, did that work? Nope. I hit submit just a touch too soon. And then also a similar problem, while I was diagnosing that, I also happened to notice that it looks like the new website, and I kind of knew this, but like, Andrew's website redesign uses /count, and it's supposed to be cached. But when I was diagnosing the problem on the new page, I noticed that like 3 count queries all came in at the same exact time, or very close to it. Hold on a second, this is updated. Wait, hold on a second, this is a limit offset. This is different. Oops, I copy pasted the wrong thing. Let me maybe I misread when I think about it, because this is real time. This is not count. So maybe I'm always in a hurry when I'm doing this sort of stuff. I never have like blocks of hours that I can actually sit down and analyze. So for the most part, I'm just like doing a quick drive-by, seeing a bunch of queries, and I thought I saw a bunch of measurement counts come in, but maybe I missed it. Yeah, I think I copy pasted the wrong thing. Yeah, I'm just gonna close this out for now.
Okay. Error. Yeah. Something behind the keyboard was loose.
Yeah. Anyway, and getting rid of these queries is basically the topic of this issue right here, where we try to get out of using real time and actually get onto using the new pages that that Robin started building. So we need to build this up to a point where we're happy with it, and we can basically say that we don't need real time anymore.
So, and there's a desire to shut down real time. How close are we to that?
Probably still pretty far away. So you know, we don't have anyone who's really able to do meaningful contributions right now.
Okay.
Yeah, we still need like linkable search. We need comments. We need image attachments. Like the basic display is what Robin did here. And then we probably don't need like the claiming, like the user association stuff, like real time doesn't do today. So we can probably defer these. But we're at least going to need linkable search, comment support, and image attachments. And I think we might have to figure out what to do about the map. Because I think where is it? It's a blog, right? I forget what's what. It's like one of these. I think these graphs come from real time as well. So we're gonna have to talk about Nick. We're gonna have to talk to Nick about having these be Grafana embeds as well. Before we can totally power it down.
You pulled up that map, and it reminded me that I was supposed to check on my point cast, but I just saw it there, so I guess I got it fixed.
Oh, look at that! I did this already. I even did the same screenshot.
Yep.
Let me do that. Organizing work on GitHub is always like a balance between art and chaos. Swap out the images. Cool. So I'll note that. So those are the main things, and then I think I'll just put like and probably decommission time. Yeah, and I sort of mentioned this on previous calls, but yeah, it'd be great to have someone who has more than like an hour a week to spend to actually start making some progress on these things. Because right now,
well, there's a lot of attitude. You know, I talked to Peter and Peter especially, and he's just basically 2020 is a write-off. We'll just, when in the depth of time, deep future, we're going to look back and say we skipped from 2019 to 2021 in terms of actual
on a lot of things. Yeah.
Because, yeah. For and not just Safecast, the entire world.
Yep. Yeah. And I was talking to Angela about this a little bit as well, because she was like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I need someone who can like spend some time who isn't just an intern. Like the interns are like kind of useful, but it takes, like you saw Robin close out a couple things and then like made some headway here. But like the difficulty with interns is I think they usually stay with us for like something like 3 months maybe, and like you have to spend a month ramping them up, and so like I can't really do much else other than ramp them up. And then they have like maybe a month or two of productivity where they can like get a couple of things done, and then they're back to school. So it'd be nice if we could get someone who can spend a more concerted effort, someone who doesn't have kids, like someone with a bit of free time on their hands who can stick around and try to close these things out. Sasha was really good for a while there, but Sasha kind of went dark, so I don't know what's going on there. Benjamin sort of keeps like threatening to like come in and do things, but has yet actually.
And he actually did a few things 2 years ago. Yeah. But then he got really busy with the job, and so when he came back a month or 6 weeks ago or so, I was thinking, oh, good, he's a doer. But then I haven't heard anything from him again.
And I'm like kind of a doer, but like at the moment I'm mostly just an actor because my kids take up so much time that like any like evening or weekend like that would be hack time is usually spent with the kids at this stage. So.
Well, in my opinion, your time is best spent managing the projects as opposed to actually getting down into the weeds.
Yeah. Yeah, I at least have plenty of context to offer to a doer, but right now we don't have any doers. So I'm about as close as it gets, and my time for doing is extremely limited. So
Okay.
I can spend a half hour a week on the Elastic clock to help keep things at least a little bit organized. So cool.
Well, if you can get them to hire Andrew, then he can get a half an hour a week too.
Oh, I think they're still in conversation, so I haven't heard an update this week. So hopefully they're still talking, but we'll see how that goes. Yeah. But yeah, for all I know, Andrew will be, well, Andrew doesn't have any kids to contend with at this stage, so he might be able to do a little bit more on nights and weekends once he gets his employment sorted out. So yeah. Cool. That's pretty much it. I should get back to it. I have another meeting to jump on.
Okay.
Talk to you soon. Bye.